utterly insane. Chelsea, champions of the world once again. Only a few years after the last time we did it in this new format. Absolutely smashing PSG off the park. But I have to say, that's not even the maddest thing that happened in New York today, given the scenes we saw as Chelsea were lifting that trophy. Really hard to try and consider my thoughts. This is more going to be a reaction than a full tactical breakdown. I apologise for that. We will be doing a more considered breakdown when I've had a chance to rewatch the game and talk about and give the full credit and plaudits to not only the players, but especially Enzo Maresca, who I think absolutely deserves it in extensive detail for me, on instinct, just on reaction, but I think it's a fair analysis. One of the top five, absolutely top five best Chelsea performances I have ever had the privilege of watching. Pure perfection from start to finish. The intensity, the focus, the tactical discipline, the also swagger and confidence about that team. This was not a case of Chelsea against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the world, or especially Europe right now, and where Chelsea have kind of squeaked it out, maybe rode their luck a few times. They went out there and absolutely blitzed PSG, a team that wiped the floor with Inter Milan in a Champions League final, who recently absolutely wiped the floor with Real Madrid, who beat Liverpool en route to the Champions League final as well. And the way in which Chelsea performed to a level I don't think many of us anticipated they could. Despite our plaudits and praise and hopes about this Chelsea team, the level they reached tonight was outstanding, astonishing. One of the best final performances we've ever seen. And God, it as I said, probably for a lot of you, like, it's hard to kind of really consider thoughts because there's so much mad that happened in that game. The way Chelsea played, being 3-0 up before half time, the quality of the goals, the quality of the performances, Cole Palmer stepping up and just absolutely blitzing PSG as well, like the swagger, the coolness, the conviction for a guy, you know, showing himself in front of the world as Chelsea's big star and you know, very much stepping up when his team needs him to. The performances of players who've been doubted, like Malo Gusto. I wouldn't have started him in this game, but his tactical importance and ability in this game was sensational. I mean, across the team, everyone, Robert Sanchez being possessed, it felt like, by Petr Cech of 2012 and, you know, becoming an insane goalkeeper when Chelsea needed him. I mean, literally across the team, it was like they had gone to another stratosphere of performance. And I think it's a culmination of a lot of things. I really do think it's the culmination of recent months. The ability of the team to respond to so much pressure when things were going wrong last season. And people track it back to that right boot of Tyreek George against Fulham. You can track it back to, of course, beating Nottingham Forest on the final day, winning in Rocklaw. The performances we've seen in this tournament specifically, some of the signings we've seen, Joao Pedro, I mean, the bloke's only been with us about a week and he's already won a trophy and scored a brilliant goal in a final as well. Chelsea are at such a better and healthier, obviously, place than I don't think any of us couldn't have anticipated, honestly, a few months ago. And what it can mean for the future is obviously huge. I think for what it means for Maresca, proving himself, you know, I've been very critical of Enzo Maresca, but I am so happy to be proven wrong, because what a tactical display from a coach. Again, you have to factor in who this opposition is. You know, many people dismissing Chelsea. You know, they'll dismiss the fact of what we did last season, getting into the Champions League. They'll dismiss what we did in Rocklaw, beating Real Betis in a competition Chelsea is supposed to win. We haven't played anyone decent, everyone said. Everyone thought we were going to turn up tonight and be wiped, you know, aside and just be cast aside by PSG, an infinitely better team, when it got serious. And instead, Chelsea did to PSG what PSG have been doing to everyone else. And that is a statement. I don't care what you think about this tournament, but that in itself on a single day is a statement performance. It's a statement about where Chelsea are currently and where they could be heading to. And you need to celebrate that. I can't also, it's one of the instant things that came to mind. And it was one of those instant things that came to mind when I was in the end celebrating that Conference League victory a few months ago, of where Chelsea were in 2022. And kind of feeling like it was the end of a chapter of kind of disappointment. And it really does feel like that today, because, you know, you think back to the last time we won the Club World Cup, when Roman Abramovich was on the pitch and the sanctions hit, and many people were kind of praying, really, outside of Chelsea for the downfall of the club. And I hope they really did enjoy that performance tonight, because, you know, reports of Chelsea's death have been greatly exaggerated. And I just think that, you imagine not being Chelsea, imagine not living through and supporting and following this mad, at times bipolar club that takes you through so many extreme emotions throughout the course of not only a couple years, I'm talking like 6 months, because no one honestly could have sat here in March, in February when things were going wrong and felt this level of performance was capable from this group of players. But really, it's a testament to Enzo Maresca, his ability as a coach. It's a testament to the quality of the players, their conviction, their unity, their improvement as young players into more mature ones who can lead and show themselves to rise to a level under pressure. And you've also got to give credit to recruitment behind the scenes. And I've been very critical, but you look at the construction of this squad, especially certain players who really have stepped up. I mean, the signing of Cole Palmer is one of Chelsea's greatest ever signings. That's, I think, undeniable. But you think about again how this team could go to another level, and that's the thing that I think excites all of us. Now, there's no getting around it. I won't be talking about this in my tactical breakdown tomorrow, but you have all of that. The first goal from Palmer, absolutely sensational. It was a really lovely sense from Chelsea early on that they pressed, harried PSG back. They wanted to. Clearly, Maresca had spotted something, and this is again something that I think is going to be rightly focused on. Like, what was it about this PSG's team who looked so flawless, looked so intimidating, that Chelsea weren't just going to sit back and suffer. They were actually going to go at PSG and try and hammer those weaknesses. And it felt like, particularly down the left side of PSG's defence, Nuno Mendes is where Chelsea targeted. Particularly the use of Malo Gusto was essential, but also the way from the front Chelsea pressed so intensely off the ball. I spoke about in my preview having no passengers, and Chelsea had no passengers off the ball today, and that was obviously essential against a team of PSG's quality, even if they weren't at their best. But it's about taking those opportunities in the final. It's about riding the wave of momentum when you have it. I think it was very informative that Maresca said in post-match that the first 10 minutes he knew Chelsea had kind of won the game, because I think psychologically they'd set out a stall that we're not here to just give you the ball, we're actually here to go at you. And maybe that is something that PSG maybe didn't anticipate from this Chelsea team. And of course, Cole Palmer getting the ball in positions where you want him to be, in that kind of number 10 pocket of space. He nearly bends in a goal early on, lovely little back heel from Joao Pedro, and I think some people thought it was in. But the first goal itself was just Rob Sanchez, insane performance, boots the ball. Lovely to see Route 1 football as well. Over the top of PSG's defence, Nuno Mendes being caught out, Malo Gusto, I thought he was going to take a shot, but cutting it back to Palmer, who then just coolly rolls the ball past Gianluigi Donnarumma, and of course that's 1-0. The second goal I think is actually even better, because if you look at the second goal, the way Palmer so intelligently and almost subtly sort of feints, and you think he's going to cut it back to an overlap, but instead he opens up more space, gives himself even more time, and slows the game down to his speed, and rolls the ball once again into that bottom corner. The third goal, insane in terms of just, again, great transition goal. Joao Pedro, the flair, the Brazilian flair and the swagger for someone who's barely been at the club that long, hit the biggest game of his career, and just finishes that like he's been in training and been playing for Chelsea for a long period of time. And I love the celebration after as well, giving the crown to Cole Palmer for the first 2 goals. And it really was a case, you saw it in that second half. Chelsea, despite PSG having some chances, I mean, Chelsea psychologically, not just tactically, psychologically beat PSG today. They have not been rocked like that in a very long period of time. And that is something as well you have to factor into this Chelsea team that's got so much better. Their ability in, whether you call it the dark arts, the shithousery, if you want to refer to it as that, or just, the side of the game that many people I think demean, but I still think is so important, especially when you're coming up against teams of comparable quality or teams of superior quality, where you have to try and unsettle them. And Chelsea did that. They have so many players across this team. I tweeted about it. There's so much more Diego in this team, and that is meant as a great compliment, as I'm sure you know if you know my love for Diego Costa. And there was so much about that I loved. The scenes after full time were despicable from PSG. I mean, you get riled up in the game, but the way even their own coach Luis Enrique, who's getting a lot of plaudits, I've not seen a head loss, a crash out like that, as people say right now, in a long period of time. But I think it was symbolic, as was the Joao Neves red card for pulling the hair of Cucurella, how well riled and cooked PSG had been by Chelsea. I mean, it really was almost, I mean, if it was a boxing match, Chelsea would have knocked out PSG in the first couple of rounds. I mean, that's how dominant and how clear it was, the levels, I think, for that game. And you kind of do wonder, as, you know, players went down injured, Enzo Fernandez was taken off, Reece James had to be taken off, and Maresca spoke about the humidity, which I understand as well. You know, you kind of felt at times, and even, you know, Liam Delap comes on and almost scores a worldie with his right foot. I mean, there was fever dream vibes about this game, I have to say, all the way past the full-time whistle, when you have the President of the United States shaking the hand of Robert Sanchez, shaking the hand of a quite confused-looking Cole Palmer, and then Donald Trump literally standing right next to Reece James and the Chelsea players as they lift the Club World Cup. I mean, pure insanity. I mean, one of those games that I had to pinch myself multiple times during that first half. I pinched myself again watching what happened for a very different reason. But I mean, it was literally one of the most absurd spectacles you're probably ever going to see, which is a bit of a shame because it is a wonderful moment for this group of players. But I have to say, I think a lot of us were maybe laughing in bemusement watching on. I don't know about you. If we do have, of course, some American viewers who I'm sure as many of us will have opinions about the President of the United States. But I mean, listen, it's not a political show. This is about Chelsea, and this is about how stupendously good that performance was, and I think what it hopefully means heading into the new season. You know, Chelsea entering this tournament, and we weren't quite sure how Chelsea were going to manage it, how we were going to feel about it as fans, but seeing how seriously the club have taken it for a long period of time and seeing how the levels of performance of this team has gradually got so much better in the knockouts was vindicated today. I think it's a vindication of Maresca's coaching. It's a vindication of the talent of the players. And I really do hope that this is where Chelsea are now. You want to be at this level. This is where you want to be. And I'm not saying you can wipe the floor of a team like PSG every single week. The levels of performance we saw today, especially in the final, were insane. But what it should mean for the club all around is that swagger, that confidence. We are world champions, and this is where we belong, and this is where we're aiming to get to in the Premier League, in the Champions League. And you feel like even with the Conference League and getting back to the Champions League, which is not the height of achievement for Chelsea, we've seen the mentality shift internally, externally, with some of the quotes that Maresca has given. And I hope that it's only the start of that and they can go to another level, because winning helps winning. We've seen it so often. We saw it, you know, way back with Jose Mourinho. That League Cup he prioritised because he realised how important it was to embed a winning mentality within that certain group of Chelsea players. Certain group of Chelsea players who, of course, were insanely talented. But when you have that experience of winning something, it can be absolutely huge to forge that kind of siege mentality and make players believe they can do it over and over again. And that is something that Chelsea didn't have. They didn't have a few months ago the ability to beat big teams. If you would have said Chelsea could beat PSG in March, even maybe in April, people would have laughed at you. And people were even laughing before this game. I mean, I said, and you can watch my preview about it, I know many of you did, where no way I could have predicted what Chelsea were going to do here. I thought, you know, Chelsea could hit PSG on the break. I said it B mode transition wise. I think we are one of the best counter-attacking teams in the world. So in some ways, I believed in that. But I didn't think it was ever going to go as well as it did. And, you know, that's again, this is a great performance, and don't let anyone try and talk it down, because it does feel like a huge night in the recent history of Chelsea Football Club, and hopefully many more to come. So as I promised, we're going to deep dive tactically into this game because we have to. Who doesn't want to? You're going to be consuming a lot of Chelsea content. I'm going to be consuming all the Chelsea content there is late into the night and into tomorrow, and until basically we get back into the season with the Premier League and the pre-season, whatever it is, because you really want to savour this, right? What Chelsea have just done, they've absolutely wiped the floor of PSG, which is no easy feat. Despite Arsenal bragging about how they beat them on XG, Chelsea beat them in every single way tonight and became the best club in world football. They've always been the best club in world football in our hearts, but tonight they proved it, and that lovely badge is going to be on the kit for about 4 years, isn't it? And even with the shenanigans around the trophy lift and everything, it was one of the great days of Chelsea Football Club. So, wow. Please like, subscribe, give me your thoughts on everything you felt about the game in the comments below. Share around with friends, and I'll see you again very, very soon. All the best. Up the Chelsea.